NFL Sports Talk back at it with another video talking some NFL, continuing my NFL predictions for the 2017 NFL season, and we're breaking it down by division, and now we are talking about the NFC South, so let's get right into it. NFC South, which I believe is one of the better divisions in football. It certainly has the best quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of division. Every team in this division has a very good quarterback, and for that reason it is going to be a very tough division. So let's start with last year's winner, the Atlanta Falcons, who are the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. And everyone and their moms knows that they blew that 25-point lead to the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl in one of the worst choke jobs in Super Bowl history, in NFL history, period, okay? But with that being said, there's a reason they got to the Super Bowl, because they have an insane amount of talent, especially on the offensive side, with last year's MVP and Matt Ryan, arguably the best wide receiver in pro football, and Julio Jones, and probably the best tandem at running back in terms of duo in Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, and you can throw in guys like Mohamed Sanu as well. So with that being said, what I like about the Falcons, I like them a lot this year still. They have a lot of the talent from last year. They pretty much re-signed everybody. They did lose Pat DeMarco, who I think is going to be a bigger loss than people think. I think the run game is going to suffer. He was a very, very good fullback. But with that being said, this offense is still high-powered. I still believe that Matt Ryan is going to be able to have a very good season. I don't think he's going to repeat his MVP, but he will still be very solid. Of course, their offense coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, left for the 49ers, so they hired Steve Sarkisian as their new OC. Let's see what happens with them. I'm sort of in the middle on the fence about how I think Sark is going to do with the Falcons. I think he's not going to try to change up too much with this offense, but like I said, on the defensive side, they added Dontari Poe and Jack Crawford. Poe is going to be a great addition to this team. So like I said, offensively, still high-powered. Defensively, they got a little better, so I like them to improve by one more game this season. I have them going 12-4 as opposed to 11-5 last season and winning this division. So Atlanta Falcons will be very solid, will be one of the top teams in the NFL. To one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL last season, in the Carolina Panthers, who had a completely awful season. The bottom fell out in Carolina. They went 6-10, and it was just an absolute mess of a season. But I like the Panthers this year. I think they are going to bounce back, and bounce back in a big way. Cam Newton is going to play angry this year. I think he's mad. I think he hears all the criticism of people saying last year's Cam was the real Cam and not the MVP Cam Newton from 2 years ago. I think he's going to ball out, so I expect a big year from Cam Newton. And for that reason, I think the Panthers themselves are going to have a big year. Now, of course, their biggest addition really came in the draft when they drafted Christian McCaffrey with the top 10 pick. He's going to immediately come in. I don't know if he's going to start right away, but he probably should. They have Jonathan Stewart, but I think McCaffrey is going to add some new fire, new blood to this team. He's going to be a great running back out of the backfield. He's going to catch a lot of passes for Cam Newton. He's going to give him another dynamic weapon. So I like Christian McCaffrey a lot. They still have Kelvin Benjamin. They still have Greg Olsen. They did lose Ted Ginn Jr., so that deep threat is gone, but let's hope guys like Devin Funchess step up. We'll see what happens. On the defensive side, they did add Julius Peppers, but he's 37 years old. I don't know how much gas he has left in the tank, so I'm not really counting on him. Their secondary is a bit shaky, so I'm not sure about the defense, but like I said, I think they still have Luke Kuechly, so that defense won't be awful. It'll be decent, and hopefully it can go back to the defense of 2 years ago, but I doubt that. I think the offense is going to carry them because they also shored up the O-line, and they got Matt Khalil from the Minnesota Vikings, so their O-line is slightly improved. And like I said, the Carolina Panthers start and end with Cam Newton, so for him to have a big year, that means the Panthers will have a good season. So I like the Panthers this year. Like I said, I think Cam balls out. I have them going 11-5. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who finished 9-7 last season, and I like them a lot this year. The only problem with the Bucs is that they are in a very, very tough division, so it's hard to see them making the playoffs. But let's see what happens. They still, of course, have Jameis Winston, who is the franchise quarterback, but they gave him a lot of help in the offseason. They added a lot of firepower on the offensive side of the football. Of course, you still have Mike Evans, who's one of the best receivers in the NFL. I think he's still underrated. You added a deep threat in Deshaun Jackson. You drafted O.J. Howard, who was by far the best tight end in the NFL draft. So I like those pieces a lot. You still got Cameron Brate as well. So offensively, they have a lot of options, a lot of new toys for Jameis Winston. So I expect him to have a big season. In terms of the run game, it's a little weak with Doug Martin being out for a couple of games. You have Jacquizz Rodgers, so I'm not really counting on him too much. But like I said, for me, with the Buccaneers, their Achilles heel is going to be their defense. I think offensively they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFL, but their defense is a bit shaky. Not a fan of it. I think their secondary is a bit weak, so they're going to have to improve in that area, and they really didn't do too much to address that. So for that reason, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kind of doing the same thing they did last year. They're going to finish at about 9-7. I think they're going to miss the playoffs, but another year of progress for Jameis Winston, and it is one of the teams in the NFL that I believe can explode this season. And finally, we have the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees and company, who had, quite frankly, just a bad year last year. Yes, Drew Brees had the stats, he had the numbers like he always does, but he was not that good. He was only good in spots. So for Drew Brees and company, what the Saints did this year is they gave him some stability in the run game. They added Adrian Peterson. Now, how much gas he has left in the tank at his age, I'm not sure, but he is going to help. They still have Mark Ingram, so I like that the fact that they upgraded their run game, so that is going to offset. And guys, let's just be honest, Drew Brees should not be throwing 50 times a game anymore. They need to stop having him throw so many times, but they do have good receivers on the outside. They did lose Brandon Cooks to the New England Patriots. They traded him, actually. And then they have Michael Thomas still, Willie Snead, and they added Ted Ginn Jr. So still some solid weapons for Drew Brees, but I wanted them to stabilize the run game, which they did with Adrian Peterson. So let's see what happens. This defense is, of course, atrocious. That was the weakness last season. That was the whole reason why the Saints were as bad as they did. They were able to address it a little bit in the draft. They drafted Marshawn Lattimore, Marcus Williams, so their secondary is going to be a bit improved. As far as how much, I'm not sure, but a little bit for sure. Again, the problem with the Saints that I see is still with the Bucs. They're just in such a tough division that, of course, I can't see them making the playoffs. I have them finishing 8-8, which is still an improvement over last season, 7-19. There you have it, folks, the NFC South. So I have the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then the New Orleans Saints in that order. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe for more NFL videos. Thanks for watching.